This is Courage Barbell, and I'm Chad Ikes. How's everybody doing on this windy Friday morning here? Today, I'm going to talk about a question I received on Instagram about picking competition attempts. This is, again, a big question because every time when people ask me one question, it usually, the first thing my mind goes is to all the different things that lead up to this question and happen after this question and how everything's entangled. I have a very different outlook on picking attempts than most people do. Even back in the day, I would say I ranged different than even some of the highest level competitors I was against. But I see a lot of things different than most people, so that's nothing new. The first thing I want to say is, well, how are you coming in? How do you train is important to picking attempts. Are you a person that actually works on your technique and understands technique? And what level of lifter are you? Are you a beginner? Are you advanced? Are you the technical lifter or the grunting lifter that just tries to muscle it through? What was your meet prep coming into this meet? What are your goals you have set for this meet? What, if you don't hit these goals, how are you going to react? There's a lot of different questions that I would need to know in order to really dig into this on an individual level, like I would with some of my lifters. But I'm going to try to answer this question and break it down. First of all, I think everyone should be a technical lifter. I think everyone should understand technique. If you have good technique, this means that you're going to be able to lift more weight with the same amount of strength. On the flip side of that, the more technical you get and the stronger you get, the window for error gets narrower and narrower. For example, if you're, when I was at the top level and I'm squatting 11 and 1,200 pounds, and my technique was pretty good. So with an 800-pound squat, my window's like this. I could good morning the damn thing at that point. But as I'm getting heavier and I'm lifting more, my window for error gets smaller and smaller and smaller. With 800 pounds, I could be this far in front and still get it. With 1,200 pounds, if I get this far in front of where I'm supposed to be, I'm going to miss it. So there's a factor of error coming in there. Then how did you get? And then I was also a geared lifter when I competed. So gear has all these little tricks to it as well. And then there also depends on how do you feel the day of the meet? Did everything work out the way you want? Was your deload going into the meet sufficient? And my point that I'm getting at here is there's a lot of ways things can go wrong. There's a lot of ways for small errors to happen, and that doesn't mean you can't necessarily get the weight, but you may miss an attempt. I seem to understand that very quickly. When I was first getting into it, I didn't miss many lifts because I had no idea what I was doing. I was still learning. Everything was grunting it out. Like if you grunt your shit out, the window for error is smaller, but you're never going to hit the numbers you have potential to actually lift. So for me, when people go, I went 9 for 9, I go, so what? That leaves two options in my brain. You had the meet of a lifetime that may only happen once in your career, or you left a shit ton of weight on the platform. I'm not sure I ever had a 9 for 9 meet, and I'm not sure I would have ever wanted one. What I used to do is I would plan one lift, one attempt in each lift as my backup. So if I went out and this had happened to me many times. When my first professional meet, I opened with 1,100 pounds and I got loose and missed it. Weight was easy. It wasn't a problem. But I got loose. That threw my technique off. It threw my position off, and I couldn't get it. Came back on the second one and smashed it so fast that like one of my guys that I had a huge respect for and looked up to like turned to me and went, "Holy shit, that was fast." So I mean, I didn't miss it because of strength. I missed it because of technique. So that was an example of that. I needed that little margin of error, that attempt for error, to still get where I wanted to go. And I'm trying to set my meet up in an intelligent manner. I don't want to set up with these huge high goals that there's no way I can hit, and then be disappointed when I don't hit them. You know, I want to just like with my training, it's all about knowledge, about thinking about it, about using my logic to make it the best that I can. So I don't set up necessarily for 3 attempts. I go, okay, here's what my opener is. Here's what I want to hit. If I get these 2, I'm good. And if everything goes perfect, now I have a 3rd attempt at something that could be even bigger. Another factor for me, and this is a personal thing, is when I started powerlifting and competing, I would do some dumb stuff. If on my openers, you know, everybody's like, get into meat. So what I would do is I would take these lighter openers. So say, you know, by the time I was squatting 700-800 pounds, I would go do my opening attempt, come down, hit the eccentric, come up on the concentric, and I would stop halfway through and start talking shit. Just because I could. It was lightweight and I had trouble controlling myself. Like, I'd have 800 pounds on my back and I'd be halfway up going, yeah, I got this piece of cake, and I'd slow it way down and slowly stand back up. And it was funny and the crowd liked it, but in the end, I started thinking, well, wait a minute. I mean, that 800 pounds was still easy, but how much energy did I waste stopping the lift in the middle and then taking it up slowly instead of just slamming through it? And so I realized that with my mentality, my opener has to be something I know that I can do, but also a weight where I know I need to focus on it. Like, yeah, I can do that weight, not a problem. But if I screw around, I could miss it. And that's just a personal thing where I had to find that balance. And I'm telling you this story so, you know, you have to compete to learn how to compete. And you have to learn to compete to learn how you specifically compete. You know, what little things do you have? How do you deal with certain things? It's just like training. We have to go in the gym to train. Well, you have to train to compete. I mean, you have to go compete and do meets. You're not just going to wait till you're super strong and then go pop into a meet and bust a world record. Like, competing is its own process that needs to be learned. So let's talk about meet prep then. I think I missed that one. I'm of the opinion that everyone should take at least a week of nothing but walking, mobility, and stretching before the competition. And personally, I think the week before that should be a deload week. And I mean a real deload week. You know, not one of these, not the videos I see on Instagram where people are like, oh, it's a deload week. Well, why did that squat take you 7 seconds then? You know, you what people don't seem to realize is that in those last couple weeks, you're not going to get stronger. You're not. You're not really going to peak anymore. Like, there's no real benefit to training heavy or hard in those last couple weeks. But what can happen is you can overtrain. You can go into that meet not recovered. So the negatives are very high. The positives are very low. So just back off. Ideally, you should be bouncing off the walls. Like, and I did this when I first started competing. I was much better at it. By the time I was getting stronger and stuff, my depression and sleep and everything was horrible. It was hard to actually be good on meet day. But ideally, for a normal person, that Thursday and Friday, you should be bouncing off the walls. Like, you should all of a sudden have tons of energy. You should feel awesome. Like, you should go into that meet. I mean, absolute 100%. And most lifters don't have any idea what 100% feels like anymore. They've been lifting and beating themselves up so bad that they think that's normal now, and it's not. Like, you literally should be like, oh, I can't hardly contain myself. I feel so good. I have so much energy. I feel so explosive. Like, that's your goal. And that's not going to happen if you're training like regular up to the meet. Or if you go, oh, I'm taking 7 days off. No, do a deload week, then do a week off. It's still kind of a deload week, but no weights at all. Just walking and stretching and mobility and moving. Go play basketball. Go throw a baseball around. That's very important. That's almost more important than the attempts you're going to pick in my mind. Like, be right on meet day. Be the absolute best you can possibly be on meet day. So then for let's go back to attempts. My first attempt is positioned at a weight I know I can do, but I have to be focused. My second attempt is going to be a PR. Depending on how big that PR depends on how my training was. It depends on how my time off before the meet went. It depends on how I feel that day. I will say, going into a meet, I would hit my openers 6 weeks out of competition. So I had an idea where I wanted to be. But for me, my numbers were never... I'm amazed how people can have their numbers so solid months and months in advance. It's like, how do you know? You still have months to train. You don't really know where you're going to be. And say you picked a number, but your training went as perfect as possible, and now you got a lot more than that. Well, if you got all 3 attempts, but you had another 25 or 50 pounds in you, that's crap in my mind. Like, I want to do the best I can on that meet day. So my numbers are always, I have a number in my head, but I already know that it may fluctuate. I'll see how that first attempt goes and then go, hey, here's what we planned, but dude, I'm feeling on it, man. Let's jack that up a little bit. Or man, that didn't go exactly like I want, but my technique was solid, so let's pull that second attempt back. We had an idea, but it was always a pliable idea. And then, like I said, so you got that first attempt, that's doable, but you have to focus. Then you have that second attempt, that's the number I want to hit in that meet. Now, and then I have a third attempt. Like I said, I have the third attempt. So if something went wrong in 1 and 2, I don't have to freak out. And if they did go perfect, awesome. I can bump up the weight, and now my numbers are padded for the next 2 lifts. I had another thought, but it kind of shot my brain here. I'm sure it'll come back. Yeah, if once you get with those first 2 attempts and you have that cushion in there, okay? I see a lot of people in meets that cave. I'm a people watcher. I'm always watching people. So even in a competition, I'm very good at having my ups and downs, man. I'm up as high as a kite when I'm lifting, and I shut it down immediately after that. And I'm very good at controlling all that. So when I'm on the down and I'm waiting and I know I don't have to lift for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or it's in between lifts, I'm usually just hanging out, being calm, and I watch people, listen to people, and people are like, oh man, I missed that attempt. Now I can't get that number. What am I going to do? And they're all freaked out about it. And all they're doing is making more stress and more problems. If you leave yourself a little window, there's no problems. You still know where you need to be. You still have a chance. And even if you don't, say you get your first attempt, you miss your second, you screw up your third too. Okay, it's done. It's done. It's over. Don't worry about it. Okay, well, this is what I have. Let's reconfigure the numbers for the next 2 lists and see if we can make up some ground somewhere. That's where I say meets are practice. You have to practice competing, and you need to learn to control your body and control what's going on. You see people in between lifts that are bouncing off the walls and they can't relax. And it's like, dude, you're going to be exhausted by the end of the day. By the time you get to the deadlift, you're going to be exhausted. You need to learn to control those ups and downs. And you need to learn when you need to be calm and when you need to be up, and you need to be able to flip that switch. That takes practice. I'm kind of shooting this one from the hip. If you notice, I shoot a lot of videos from the hip. Because I want you guys, I know this stuff. And I don't want to put on a big presentation. I want this to be like me and you sitting down and talking, because the most things I've learned from lifting is just sitting down and talking with people. So I'm trying to kind of simulate that as much as I can here, instead of me going crazy and having this whole list of things that I need to follow or a speech. This is stuff I know. Sometimes I have so much shit in my brain. Sometimes it's hard to get it out, but I'll get it out, and I'll do another video on the same thing at some other point. But yeah, so when you're coming in, don't think so much about the actual attempts that you're going to make. Like, hit your openers coming into the meet so you know what your openers are. Okay? Kind of have an idea what you want to get out of this meet, where you want to finish, what you want your bench, your squat, your deadlift, and your total to be. But keep that pliable in your head. Don't make those solid numbers. This is what we're hitting. This is what we're going to open with. You might, and then focus a lot on coming up into that meet and realizing that 1 or 2 weeks can screw you, but it's not ever going to give you that much. And then once you get into the meet, pay attention to your energy and how you're controlling it. Pay attention to your focus. I've had a lot of people were very amazed at how calm I am before competitions and how mellow I am even during the competition. Like, I'm just enraged. If you go to YouTube, and if you don't know who I am, which I'm hoping that you do, you know I'm an excitable lifter. If you don't know, go to YouTube. There's bunches of videos up in there. I'm an animal, man. I go completely nuts and pull up every deep, dark, crazy ass thing inside my soul, and I use that to lift. But right after that lift's done, it's back down to mellow, calm Chad. Man, it's early in the morning. I'm getting off track again. So once you have that and you've taken that time and you get to the meet, now as you're warming up, control that energy and then use your warm up. You don't want to spend a lot of energy in your warm up, which basically your warm up is, you should be doing really lightweight to get warm. I've even been known to, I'll get up a little earlier and I'll go walk stairs and I'll do and stretch in my hotel room. And I'll do some really light. I've done like good mornings with chairs and squats with it, holding the chair over my head and stuff, just to really get the blood flowing and get warm. And then now when I go to the competition, I'll do another little stretch. And my body's already warm. My joints have already been moving a little bit. My muscles have had some blood pumping through them. So now I don't have to focus so much on actually like getting myself warm from getting out of bed, going to the meet and getting warm. And then when I'll start warming up, where all I'm really doing at that point is feeling the weight. Especially by the time you get to the bench and a deadlift, you should be warm. Like, you're basically just feeling the weight. By the time I get to a deadlift, I'll go pull 400 and I go, okay, let's go out and pull 7. Like, that's my warm up, pulling 400 once. Because I'm already warm at that point. So as you're warming up, especially for the squat, you're just feeling the weight. And that should give you some idea, hey, the opener that we picked is good. Hey, we need to drop the opener a little bit. Hey, man, God, I feel really good, man. Like, can we bump that up another 10 pounds or 20 pounds and go ahead and put ourselves ahead of our scheduled plan? Now, do remember that as much as I competed, and I competed a lot, that first squat is always a little, like, people would ask how I feel, and I go, I'll let you know after the first squat. Like, because you don't really know till you get on the platform and you hit that first squat. And no matter what happens, at least I know the rest of the day. Like, I know really where I'm at. So keep in mind that the first squat is always going to have probably be your biggest mental lift of the whole meet. Because there is that, you don't really know. Even when you warm up, you go, man, I feel good or I don't. But you don't really know because you ain't been on the platform yet. The platform will tell you. It's not going to delegate what the day is, but it's going to let you know where you're really at, how you're really feeling. So I think there at least people can hopefully get a bunch of pointers out of this video. Competing's fun, Don't get too worried about it. Don't get too stressed about it. You spend a lot of time training for a meet. And I see these people that get so nervous going into meets and competitions. It's like their life's riding on it. Like, come on, man. This is still fun. This is still awesome. To me, with all of my sleep problems, probably some of the best nights of sleep during those years, which were still screwed, were the night before competitions, at least when I wasn't in a full-on insomnia run. Because in my mind, it was like, hey, this is awesome. This is it. I've been training for maybe 6 months to prepare for this meet. I finally, all that hard work, all that training, all that dedication, culminates to this one event. And after all that hard work, I finally get to show off. I finally get to show what my hard work did. And I get to see for myself what my hard work did. And especially once you get to the point where you're going for all-time lifts and world records, that's cool. It's like, all right, dude, now, finally, after all this damn training and damn dedication and suffering and pushing myself, I get to see. I get to show it to myself. I get to show it to the audience. I get to show the world, here, this is why I did what I did. And that's an awesome thing. Like, you should be pumped and jacked to go do a meet. You shouldn't be worried and nervous. If you did it right, if you have faith in your training and what you did and how you got there, you should be happy. And even as you're coming up, don't focus on where did I place in the meet. Focus on how did I do in the meet. Let me say that differently. How did I do in the meet? Did you PR? Did you increase your knowledge? Did you gain knowledge? The meet, especially when you're coming up, and honestly, through most of my career, how I placed was cool, but it wasn't the focus. The focus for me was, if I just continue to go to each meet and try to beat myself, then I will end up where I want to be. And even the meets where, say, I bombed out, it was like, okay, before you want to get pissed off and angry, which I did with some of my first meets, before you get pissed off and angry, did you learn something? Are you going to benefit from this competition? And yes, I always learned something, always, no matter what. So then it was still a positive. Maybe not the positive I wanted, but it was a positive. So listen, you got nothing to lose by competing. And you have everything to gain as long as you look at it right. All right, guys. For the next 20 hours thinking of more shit to talk about if I don't let you guys go. Man, please like this channel. Please subscribe to this channel. Please comment on this channel. If you guys could comment. Listen, I have a question. I'm noticing I'm doing videos from 10 minutes to 20 minutes. Do you guys like shorter videos? Do you mind the fact that the videos are longer? I'm not gonna lie. I want to find a way to make this my job, where I'm helping people and training people and doing videos about lifting and trying to make this world courageous. But I'm doing this also for you guys. Throughout my career, there was a lot of times I gave to people, I helped people, and I didn't do it for anything except that I wanted to help people. Now I'm trying to combine those two. So I need your guys' feedback and where I need to go with this and what things I need to shoot for and what you guys are looking for. All right, I'm out. I'm going to make me some breakfast. I will talk to you guys later. Done.